Welcome to I Said What I Said. I'm Brad Wakai. That's Tyson Gentry. This is our college football week 1 recap. I mean, what a great way to kick the season off. Loaded games across the entire weekend. We start on Thursday. We finish on Monday. We got a lot to talk about, Tyson. We are changing up how we're going to structure it this year. We're going to really focus on more of like the recap coming out of things, and we'll give more preview ahead. So we're going to do 2 separate episodes, give you more college football content because, we're sickos and we love this stuff. We want to give more attention to college football. But, that's just some housekeeping stuff. We'll still be doing our I Told You So, our hand up, our donkey today, our upset of the week that we're giving out as superlatives at the end of the show. But our biggest storylines is really going to be the meat of these reaction shows. And so housekeeping out of the way, I know you had a fantastic weekend because your LSU Tigers is going to be a featured part of the show. They go on the road, they get a big one.
They got it. Yeah, it was fantastic. On the whole, did you think week 1 lived up to the expectation you had built in your mind? People were complaining about sloppy gameplay. It was welcome to week 1 of any sport.
I mean, I knew it was going to be sloppy because this isn't the first time we're tuning into college football. We had upsets. We had lackluster performances. We had quarterbacks who we thought were going to perform well, not. And then quarterbacks we had no clue about performed well. And I thought it was a great week in the college football. Now, it drove me nuts because college football does that to me all the time. But I enjoyed it a ton.
Yeah, it's just nice to have the quad box back on YouTube TV with 4 concurrent college football games.
No doubt. And so Tyson and I are going to get into the biggest storylines. First thing that I want to discuss off the top before we jump in. Guys, you're going to hear a lot of stuff, and maybe you're doing it too. You don't overreact to week 1 in college football. It's 1 data point. We have 12 more that we need to decide, and really 6 more and 3 more before we get into conference play, before we can make actual judgments about these teams. Now, was some of these teams looking worse than we thought? Yes. Are they going to look a little bit better probably this week when they get another tune-up game? For sure. So let's not overreact to anything. That's what I'm going to say as we get into biggest storylines. We discuss these and what happened and the biggest things that happened. Don't overreact to anything that we're saying. Don't overreact to anything that you saw because as we know, Tyson, how many times has something happened on Labor Day weekend and we forget about it 2 months later?
A ton. Do you remember when Notre Dame was dead and buried when they lost to Northern Illinois and then they played in the national championship? But also, if you're a fan, dude, go nuts. Just go crazy. You've been deprived for a long time. So bask in it for a couple more days.
You can go crazy. Tyson, I'll rein you in. How about that? That's the deal we got here. But all right, first reaction show of the week, or first reaction show of the season, I should say. Let's jump right in and do it with the biggest storylines.
Biggest storylines.
And we're going to start Texas falling to Ohio State 1-3. Texas, who everybody kind of crowned, right? You got the Heisman favorite in Arch Manning. Everybody's talking about, Sark's an idiot for not starting Arch. If they would have started him last year instead of Quinn Ewers, they would have won the national championship. And Sark's stupid. We know better than him. We know better than the coach who's at practice every day watching these guys. And it was not pretty. 14-7. Ohio State didn't look great on their end too, but there's a lot of new moving parts and pieces there. And the national champs took care of business against the number 1 team in the country. And that's, I think, what you can take away from Ohio State. But let's start with your thoughts on the game, and we'll dive in a little bit further.
Well, I think it's a good reminder for everybody, if this happens again, that the defending national champion at home is an okay thing to bet. We don't have to listen to Paul Feinbaum say, I don't even think this game's going to be – many are saying, right? That was the SEC post. Right. Many people are saying Texas is just way more talented and this game isn't going to be close. Ohio State's guys are all going to the league too. It's a long journey, to make it up to the shoe to play in week 1. Those guys are fired up. Yeah, dude, it was sloppy. That was that's probably going to be the case if these 2 teams meet down the line in the playoff. Is these defenses are really good, and that's the biggest takeaway I think you can have is both these defenses looked as advertised.
I think that's a big positive for Ohio State because coming in, the biggest question mark about them. I mean, even beyond, Chip Kelly's leaving and the quarterback's gone and Will Howard, and you're going to Julian Sayin, the freshman, is what's this defense going to look like under Matt Patricia? And the early return is good, right? We saw an exotic defense. We saw a defense that frustrated not just Arch Manning, but it looked like he kind of flustered Sarkisian. A lot of people are pointing to Sark saying the play calling was bad, things like that. I'll focus on the Texas angle in a bit, but you brought up the Ohio State's performance in their defense. I thought it was excellent. That's what you wanted to see from a new coordinator and a defense that has still NFL guys, like you said. But this offense is not good enough right now, and that's okay. Like Julian saying, he did some things. You're like, okay, I can kind of see it. Like the arm strength's there. He put some balls on the receivers that should have been caught, and Jeremiah Smith had 2 drops. Carnell Tate was good.
Yeah.
But, I did not think the offensive line was impressive for Ohio State. That's something that we said last year as well, and they kind of built into it, and it allowed them to win a championship. But you continually lose 5 stars and older guys, and people are going to the NFL. You're going to take a step back in the early season. It's just, can they continue to develop in the trenches on the offensive side? We'll see. But those were the 2 things that stood out for me is Ohio State still looks really good on defense. Their offense has a way to go.
And I think that's true. But like on the flip side, both of these game plans seemed awfully conservative. There was like nothing over the middle of the field for a while in this game. And it was just it was a competition of who wouldn't crash the car. And like I think there's something Julian saying didn't even really put the ball in harm's way in this game, and that was good enough. I mean, Carnell Tate makes an awesome catch to score a touchdown there. Kind of remind everybody like, hey, I want to go to the NFL too. I'm really good. But I think that they got to run the ball a little better, but they're not going to play Texas every week either.
Yeah, and I think is James Peoples going to develop into the guy that people think, right? Like, because that was the big thing. And then you go and get C.J. Donaldson, the transfer from West Virginia, and he took on the rest of the load because it was Peoples who started. And it was like, yeah, he's getting stuffed. C.J. Donaldson, 19 carries, 67 yards, and a touchdown, only 3.5 per pop. So is that going to be something that improves? Now, when they're playing not Texas, it'll probably look a little bit better. But how does that look in Big Ten play? We'll see. But that's something for down the road. What people are really focused on in the storyline coming out of this is Arch Manning. And this was a bad debut. And the defenders of Arch are blaming Sarkisian. They're like, the play calling was bad. And I mean, Dan Orlovsky's like, imagine calling that game plan when you have a generational QB.
Generational.
And we don't necessarily take shots at other people in the media, but dude, that was just insane. Like, how can you watch that game and say this guy's generational? You know
Stop
what I mean?
saying
Like,
the word period. Like it lost all. Jeremiah Smith might be generational. Everybody else, no. And that's a might be. Generation's a long time.
Arch Manning goes 17 to 30, 170 yards, and a lot of those came in the latter part of the game. What was it? He entered with 59 yards or something like that entering the fourth quarter. The interception was not good. Laid across and no arm strength on that deep out route. That was concerning. But Tyson, he's missing wide open throws, and it's not like he's just off. I mean, he's dirting balls. He's throwing over the top of others. Like, this was as bad of a debut as you could have for somebody that came in who people are calling, without a single start to his name, the #1 pick in the draft, the Heisman favorite. And people are saying if he would have been the starter instead of Quinn Ewers, they would have won a national championship last year. Like, what a complete air out of the balloon situation.
Yeah, as the kids say, the holy airball. I think that's the internet thing right now. I can't sit here and defend that performance, but like 1 for 5 on 4th down, and some of these quarterback sneaks, dude. Like, we gotta hit these in practice. You're going backwards on these. I would call them tush pushes, but they ran the one on 4th and goal in like a hurry up situation, and nobody got up to help. That was brutal. I think some of the game planning stuff was bad, but from the first throw of the game, it was like, oh, this is gonna be tough. It's gonna be a long day. And 29 of those yards were on a screen pass. Of those 170 entered the fourth quarter, like you said, with like 60 passing yards. It's tough to sit here and be like, he's gonna be okay, but I think he's gonna be okay too. Like, he is 21. Some of these people did it to themselves, like, because Quinn Ewers was the perfect prospect coming out of high school, inflated a little bit, and then he goes in the 7th round, and now it's easy to sit here and be like, he didn't even start over a guy that went in the 7th round. Like, what did you think you were going to get? That's not fair either. Like, sometimes a kid just has a bad debut. I don't know if people remember his uncle, Peyton, leading the league in interceptions as a rookie and then figuring it out. It's not the same thing here, obviously. But, like, we've been told we're getting 2 seasons of Arch Manning at Texas. And if this was game 1, it's only up from here.
Well, and I think here's the thing, too. San Jose State next week, or this upcoming week as we're recording. UTEP the week after that, then Sam Houston the week after that, 3 home games. I think Texas's offense is going to look good during those. And they go on the road at Florida. Then you got the Red River shootout against Oklahoma as you're an SEC play. So we'll see what happens from there. But these 3 weeks are important, and we'll see how it looks. My biggest thing before we move on here, Tyson, the receiving core for Texas was questionable. I mean, people are coming in. Ryan Wingo's the guy, 2 catches, 35 yards.
Dude, get him the ball, first of all. And maybe that pass on third down, like, you have to have it. But if you're Arch Manning, like, Wingo has room. It's an easy dump off, and he misses him, like, behind him and high. We might be sitting here talking like, well, he played like crap, but they had a crazy comeback because Wingo could have taken that thing 40 yards.
Yeah, so that's something that I'm circling here. Not a good debut from Arch Manning. Ohio State, business as usual, man. They just win big games. That's what they do in the horseshoe. Let's get to your boys.
That hurt.
LSU. Oh, it was painful. LSU beats Clemson, Tyson. So I'm going to throw this to you. This is a game that you had circled for a long time. This is a game that a lot of people had circled for a long time. Can Brian Kelly finally do it? They do it, and they did it in a fashion where the defense actually shined here.
The swagger seems to have returned. And I think that I'm going to overreact. You said no overreacting, but Brad, when's the last time that LSU ran man defense across the board and just said, we're more athletic than you. We're crawling over each other on defense to make plays. We've been sitting here talking about Harold Perkins for what seems like a decade now. This is a guy who was projected to go number 1 in some preseason stuff a couple years ago, switched defensive coordinators. Now he's used out of position. Then he tears his ACL. And it's like, is Harold Perkins going to be that guy? Folks, he's a first-round draft pick. The way this kid looked this weekend, he was maybe the best player on the field. What Weeks was awesome on defense. And then again, it might have been – look, Antonio Williams going out makes this harder to say because he's one of the best players in the country, Clemson wide receiver. But they were locked down in the defensive secondary, and they have not been since Brian Kelly's been there. Blake Baker took over one of the worst units in college football 2 years ago, and they made some moderate steps forward last year just – in SEC play. I think they were 14th in total defense, which is not where LSU is supposed to be. And it looks like they hit on the transfer portal. That was kind of the question, is like, are all these guys going to gel? And the answer was a resounding yes. We can talk about the offense. We can talk about Clemson. But the story to me is like that felt like a Les Miles LSU football team a little bit. And I was telling you before we got on here, it was 10-3. And I had no doubt LSU was going to win the football game. And then it was 10-10. I had no doubt LSU was going to win the football game. And then Clemson is in the red zone driving with a chance to tie the game. And it just felt like a no-doubter. They're not getting a first down here. They can't move the ball on this defense.
Well, I'm one of the few people that operate on the positive Brian Kelly island. I know a lot of people like to take pot shots at him, and it was easy last year when Notre Dame went to the championship and LSU looked poor, right? And it's for the past 2 years. I mean, he had the big upset over Alabama. It was like, oh, okay, here we go. And last year was a major step back. And it was like, okay, what are we doing here? This was a huge win for Brian Kelly. And it kind of reminded, I think a lot of people, it should have, like, even if you don't like him and people are like, well, he's phony and this and that, whatever. Can the guy coach football games? Brian Kelly, resounding yes, when you look at his career. And Tyson, we talk about this a lot. Yes, Notre Dame is a tough place to coach, but Notre Dame's not LSU. Like, you're not in the grinder of LSU. You don't have to out-recruit 6 other programs in the SEC. You don't have like constant media pressure like from the fan base. Like Notre Dame, yeah, at the end they got like a little tired of Brian Kelly, but they were starved for success. Like he arrived from Cincinnati and brought an overarching level of like, okay, Notre Dame feels back. Oh, we went to a national championship. We went to another one. It was like, okay, finally we're back on track and Brian Kelly's the guy. It ended a little bit sour, but then he goes to LSU and it's like, holy smokes, you know, I'm taking a different job than I've experienced before. And that's like the step up from Cincy to Notre Dame is a step up from Notre Dame to LSU. Now, Notre Dame fans might not like that, but I'm talking about from a day-to-day. So to get this win was huge on the right track. And I'm with you. The defense looked championship caliber level because we're coming into this season, folks, and we should not be downplaying this. I know everybody's talking about Cade Klubnik. Oh, he looked bad again. A lot of it had to do with LSU's defense. This was a unit that I projected in Clemson to have one of the best offenses in the league. This is a defense that people were thought going to wreck shop against everybody they face because of the talent they have in the trenches. And yet LSU held them to 10 total points, 31 total rushing yards, Tyson, on 20 carries.
0 in the points in the second half.
Complete domination by LSU, and that's what you can ask for.
Dude, Clemson had the ball for 9 minutes in the second half. Like they could get nothing going until that final drive, and I I can't remember the quote. I want to attribute it to John Chavis, but I don't think he said it. But defenses prevent you from winning championships.
Yes.
And then they go a little soft, and Clemson moves the ball down the field. Other than that, it was fantastic. And I think it should be scary for the rest of the country, because this was like LSU's offense is going to be awesome, blah, blah, blah. They go on the road to a really tough environment, and defense travels. That's the saying. Everyone knows that. And offense sometimes doesn't come along with you. The offense did enough, and they got 7 points taken off the board as well. So have to sneak that in there, dude. Just an all-time.
Of course, it's insane.
What the heck is going on here on that overturn? So, like, in my Bayou glasses, it's 24-10, and LSU just beat the brakes off of Clemson. But they physically dominated a team they weren't supposed to. They ran the football with Caden Durham much better than they have in years past, especially against this front, while breaking in 4 new offensive linemen. And so the offense wasn't spectacular, but in that second half, Garrett Nussmeier just locked in. It was like, oh, this dude he's really good. And that ball that got overturned was probably the best throw of the weekend. I feel pretty confident in saying that, as well as on the goal line, the touchdown throw to Green, when he just kind of audibled into, hey, we got our guy in a one-on-one. I know I got the stack over here and I got numbers, but I'm giving my guy a chance, and they win the football game. And that's ultimately what the goal is. And so I think LSU's first season opening victory in 5 years is fantastic. And I would like to remind everybody, I think Clemson hasn't won one in 4 years now. And I think they're 4-5 in their last 9 games against SEC teams, and like 18-1 against everybody else, something like that.
Yeah, because I think South Carolina finally woke up, so that's an actual challenge that they got to face at the end of their schedule. It could be the same thing this year. So LSU beats Clemson 17-10, huge game. Now, I don't know if it's going to have CFP ramifications, Tyson, but that's kind of where we're at. It's a huge game for LSU and a huge victory for them. This one does, though. Alabama gets
in
upset.
Their last 11 against SEC teams. Sorry, I gave Clemson too much credit, and I had to take it
too
away.
much. Alabama gets upset by Florida State. Wow. This was shocking on a lot of different levels, because not only was everybody highlighting this as a circle the wagons game for Alabama, because they're getting under discussed in the offseason. Oh, okay, Florida State, yeah, they're chatting, but we know what happens. Alabama comes in. And this is something that Tyson and I pointed out when we're doing our betting picks. We're like, dude, Alabama, this is a classic spot for him. Tommy Castellano talked his shit and backed it up. Florida State out-physicaled Alabama. The tackling from Alabama is atrocious. And the conversation, this is the storyline here, is what do you do with Kalen DeBoer? Because his buyout is insane, so it's probably not going to happen. But Tyson, I mean, this guy could get fired from Alabama, and it is insane that 2 years ago he was coaching Washington to the national championship game, was the hottest candidate on the market, except for maybe Dan Lanning. I'm not, if he wanted to come to Tuscaloosa, but it was Kalen DeBoer's pretty good second option. This thing is off the rails at Alabama now. 4 losses already in DeBoer's tenure, Alabama, of favorites of 14 or more. It is unfathomable to think about that in Alabama. And Tyson, I'll throw this to you, but I'm just going to have a big picture thing, because everybody's talking about this game from a point of view. I want to talk big picture. Alabama might be coming back to earth as a football program, and it's not any fault of their own. It's just that you don't have the best college coach in the history of the sport running the program. So welcome to the land of the normals, where 10 wins are acceptable, where you lose to your rivals, where you lose big games sometimes. That's what it is. But this performance was unacceptable.
The land of the normals is I think there's a lot of fan bases out there that would see that Penn State flag behind you and say, shut up, dude. Like, you don't live there either. But no, it's crazy. What do you think Nick Saban was against unranked teams in his career?
He only lost at Alabama, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did he only lose like twice?
It was 124-4.
And 4, okay.
Kalen DeBoer is 6-4 in those games.
That's bad.
It. And like, here's the deal. I was wrong on Kalen DeBoer. I thought he was going to be able to bring this offense over, and it was like, it's Alabama. They're always going to play defense. They're always going to have freaks on that side of the ball, and they can just recruit that way. And who doesn't want to come be the defensive coordinator at Alabama? The defense looks horrible. It looks absolutely night and day versus what we're used to in a Nick Saban team. I mean, he's just up there on College Game Day every week, mad as hell, just like having to watch these games. But then Kalen DeBoer comes out and says, I choose to believe we're a good football team. We can't just play on their heels. And it's like, you're coaching scared too. Like, he's been coaching like he doesn't want to lose this job. It feels like, since he's got the job. And lastly, like, what do they do? Because you can't, like, you don't want to turn into Nebraska, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, now we're looking back and it's like, oh, Bo Pelini won 9 games a year. They should have just kept him. And like, that's a fall from grace from where they wanted to be too. And so like, you don't want to be Alabama and look back on this thing and be like, well, Kalen DeBoer was winning 9 games. Like, we should have been happy with that. It's what comes with the territory when you're the best, college program outside of Connecticut women's basketball, of our lifetimes. But also, like, it shouldn't be this way. You shouldn't lose that game. Like, we don't play games on paper, and that's fine. But talent for talent and guys that are going to play in the league, this shouldn't have been a close game, let alone you losing by 14. These are the games Nick Saban won by 35 and proved the point. And these are games Kalen DeBoer doesn't get out of bed for.
And which is shocking to me because he's got to know that people are going to come from. I mean, because
have to have this one, dude. Had to have it.
Offensive coordinator at Indiana, like, you're the underdog. You got to get up for games. And you kind of understand that. Then you go to Fresno State where you're kind of the class of that Mountain West. People are punching up you and Boise State. But at the time, Fresno State was, they're a program. And then you go to Washington, who even at Pac-12, we talk about Oregon, we talk about USC. Washington in the Pac-12 was one of the top dogs. And you got to understand
he handed Dan Lanning his ass like 3 times.
And he was the kryptonite of Dan Lanning,
yes.
So I'm with you. This is shocking. And we talked about with Brian Kelly. It is a way bigger job to go from Washington to Alabama. It just is. And that's not a shot at it's Washington. It's just the reality of the situation. Like, you are in a pressure cooker. You are in a grinder. Like, you are in the fishbowl that is Alabama football. And then you have to replace Nick Saban. And then it doesn't go well in year 1. And then you're coming into year 2, and we're talking about, well, we know we have to correct the lack of physicality. My offensive coordinator's back, so we're going to fix some of the problems on offense. And then you have the first drive, and everybody's proclaiming, oh, Alabama's back. And it looked like that for the rest of the way. It was mind-boggling how bad they looked. And I'll say this, Ty Simpson, I don't know if he's going to be the starting quarterback in week 5, man. I mean, here's the thing. I'm looking at the depth chart. Keelan Mack, or I'm sorry, Austin Mack, redshirt sophomore, is he going to get run? How about the freshman, Keelan Russell? Like, how drastic are things going to get in Tuscaloosa before Kalen DeBoer? I mean, I don't think he's going to get fired because of the buyout again, but like, he's like, all right, listen, we just got to do something, and maybe we'll appease the fans by going to the 5-star kid that we landed.
What is he? He's like 0.78 Jimbo Fishers or something is his buyout. Like, so there's precedent. Like, they could do it, but it's the different level of money too. But the flip side of this whole deal is, like, what if Florida State is just that physical? And what if they are just going to run through everybody? I mean, that rushing attack was, like, really good and something that we didn't think that we were going to get. I will get to my apologies to Florida State and all. Like, I was leading this guy's talking too much shit. There's no way this goes well. And he backed it up the whole way. Dude, the defense only allowed like 87 rushing yards to Alabama. This is a Florida State team where it was like, oh, dude, Haynes King himself might have 155 yards tonight. This team can't stop anybody. And then they just went against a bunch of guys who want to go to the NFL. Like, I can't say anything else than that with this Alabama team because they didn't look good. Like, I can't say a good offensive line or anything, but it's guys who want to go to the NFL. And they just BTA, man. Like, they just put the boots to them.
I have been critical of Mike Norvell.
Yeah, he deserves a little respect.
This was great. I mean, pulled the plug on the coordinators last year. And I think maybe his hand was forced a bit. But, I mean, to make the right hires on defensive coordinator and then to go get Gus Malzahn to be your offensive coordinator, this is what we're talking about. These are big boy decisions you have to make at this level. And Mike Norvell did it. And hats off to him because this team looks completely different now. I mean, we're looking at Florida State pushing around Alabama. It's like, okay, what are they going to do in the ACC? It's a completely different outlook for this team going forward.
The whole conference. Big ACC weekend.
So let's talk about Miami taking down Notre Dame because another – I don't know what people want to say shocking because, it was a 4-point spread and Miami's at home and a lot of people are like, I like Miami here. Two things that stood out to me. Miami's physicality on defense was impressive. Like they've been spending money to get real dudes, both at high school level and the transfer portal. The trenches, their offensive line and defensive line dismantled Notre Dame early. And I don't know if they got a little tired out or Notre Dame adjusted, but that was an ass kicking early on in the trenches by Miami. And then Carson Beck looked good, man. I mean, he had the one-handed catch. That's an ill-advised throw. That's a classic Carson Beck. And I think we're going to see more of that throughout the year. But he stood in there in a wet field, going through progressions, going through his reads, and he looked comfortable. He was delivering the ball. I think that's the best he's looked in 2 years. And if that's what Miami's going to get, and this is what their defense and offensive line looks like, this is a real football team, Tyson.
Yeah, it was like a definite playoff contender with the way that they look. Notre Dame will never win a national championship running an offense like this. That was
Mike Denbrock, dude, that's your boy. You're out on him?
Like, but it doesn't look the same. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
He's run offenses before where it didn't really look like Riley Leonard or CJ Carr. And like that just can't be the archetype in modern day college football. I still think Notre Dame is a really good team, and like they're probably going to end up making the playoff too. And like maybe I'll eat my words at the end of this season. But that was like the biggest takeaway. And then the second one for me, because you mentioned Beck, but Mario Cristobal tried so hard to go full Chris. We almost got the experience this week, folks, that would have really tied the whole weekend together. But Miami was able to like win one of these. And that doesn't happen very like 8 years since they beat a top 10 team. That team was also Notre Dame, but it's still 8 years, and they were able to do it. We got Kadarius Toney's brother catching touchdown passes. We got Swagger, CJ Daniels with probably the catch of the year already. I do miss a little bit, like if you're going to play that style of offense, throw back the defense too. That safety's got to take his head off. Like you're not catching that pass. But yeah, it was impressive from Miami. These are games they give away. We've seen them happen 100 times.
And I thought they were going to. I mean, playing for that field goal was asinine. And Mario Cristobal, I don't think he knew that Notre Dame had another timeout, Tyson. Like he's what? Dude, I'm like, dude, you didn't know they had a timeout, brother? And first of all, you cannot not be aggressive. I mean, you spent what $6 million on Carson Beck, and you're not going to let him throw the football when he's been shredding up this defense? Like, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? So I'm not all the way back, and we'll get into our superlatives at the end. I was going to say, I was wrong. No, I'm still not giving him – like, that was a disaster class almost down the stretch. But he had the team ready to play. This team was ready to come in. Notre Dame's rolling in, and Miami punched him in the face early. Jeremiah Love, 10 carries, 33 yards. Wow. I mean, This guy's the best running back in the country, right? That's what people are saying coming in. Best backfield, Jadarian Price, 6 carries, 45 yards. So I think Notre Dame's going to be fine. They're going to build into the season. I think they're going to make some adjustments. They don't have to play a conference schedule. Like they have Texas A&M and USC. Those are their 2 hardest games on the schedule left that I see. Maybe somebody else will jump out, but I don't see that. CJ Carr, if he can build upon this performance, because I actually thought there were moments it was like, oh, okay, this kid's got some stuff. This is his first game. First pass he ever attempted in college. 19 to 30.
That scramble touchdown was electric.
It's great. That's what we're just going to stand out, and I think that's what you build upon. He had the young moments, right? The 2 groundings, can't do stuff like that, but that's him trying hard. There's positives for Notre Dame, but I think if you're looking at the schedule, they're going to make the playoff probably unless they lose to both A&M and USC. I think they'll probably win one or if not both those games, so I think they'll be fine. But the lack of push in the trenches that Notre Dame had on the offensive side of the football was super surprising.
Yeah, it was. We're not used to that on both ways. Like Cal was running all over these guys a year ago.
Last kind of big storyline, Tyson. Bill Belichick's lackluster debut on Monday.
That's pretty kind of you, actually. I thought the wording was going to be a little harsher.
Well, listen. I had TC minus 3.5, and I laid it out on our betting episode. I just did not expect much. It was so many transfers, and it was such a noisy offseason. But you got Michael Jordan there. You got James Worthy there. Roy Williams in the house. Aaron frickin' Boone. He didn't even go to UNC. He's on an off day coming down to Chapel Hill. It's like, what is going on here? He's got to catch a private jet and head out to Houston to start the Astros series. Like, this thing is an event. And boy, was that place rocking on the first touchdown drive. And everybody's talking about, whoa, yeah, here we go, Bill Belichick era. And they got their ass kicked the rest of the game. And boy, was that place empty by the third quarter. I'm not going to overreact to this thing one way or the other. I thought North Carolina was going to be in over their head this season. It looked like that early. I think it's going to take some time for Belichick to adjust to the college game and for these kids to get acclimated because there's a ton of transfers coming in. But this was ugly.
He doesn't care at all. Like that was, I don't think he gives a shit that they just got embarrassed. Dude, when's the last time a Bill Belichick or Steve Belichick defense at the college level came out of the halftime break to get obliterated? Like, just crushed. Like, it was 21 points in the third quarter. We don't see that out of Bill at the NFL or Steve at any of his stops. To me, that was pretty telling. They couldn't run the ball. And then it's a mini hand up. Like, Gio Lopez looked pretty bad.
Oof.
That was
not good.
That was a tough call. I was pretty excited. I was like, it did a lot of cool stuff at South Alabama. It's going to be fun when he gets up to the big boys. Doesn't help that you can't run the ball at all.
Right.
But the kid went like an hour and a half between completions. It felt like, I don't know what it actually was, but TC ran for 258 yards.
Yeah, dude. Josh Hoover looked good. This is a guy a lot of people were talking about coming in. We highlighted him in our Big 12 preview. Last thing for biggest storyline, Tyson, and you talked about Garrett Musmeyer making the best story of the weekend. I don't know, man. Jaron Kiowe Sagabatu Tele, the kid from Cal, the freshman. If you're East Coast listening to this and you didn't watch this kid, go watch the highlight tape. Wow, this kid's gonna be special. I'm telling you guys right now. His stuff is circulating on social media, and if you're not on it, go on YouTube or whatever. This kid's gonna be a guy. I don't know if Cal's gonna be able to keep him. They're freaking Cal. Like, you got money. Keep this kid and compete. Like, we are like, this is gonna be a disaster for Cal. Tyson, this kid might single-handedly win them like 5 or 6 games, dude. Like, he's that good.
We're stamping it on the I Said What I Said podcast. 2028 number 1 overall draft pick in the NFL. And last one for me, dude. Good reminder for everybody: preseason polls don't mean a ton.
Beautiful. That is well said, and that's going to go into our next superlative section here, Tyson. And what we're going to start with is "I told you so."
I told you so.
So mine's going to be Arch Manning, and if you guys are like, "What, dude? What?" said it in the SEC preview that we did. Are we sure everything that we're talking about with Arch Manning is going to come to fruition? I just said, let's maybe wait a little bit and let's see. I thought the Heisman immediate favorite was insane. Again, if you don't believe me, go listen to our SEC preview. I know,
or the Heisman preview,
or the Heisman preview too. Some of that stuff is a little bit outdated, I guess, now that we're in the first week of the season. But this was accurate, and I said everybody pump the brakes a little bit on Arch Manning. That's what I saw against Ohio State. Not saying he sucks, but I was kind of right that it's not going to just come immediately easy for him.
No, and that goes right into mine. You even took my phrase, dude. Pump the brakes. Everybody out there. That's on Arch Manning, Cade Klubnik, and whoever else. Like, week 1 struggles don't define these guys the same way that like off-season storylines that are just simply rooted in narrative like define them either. Like, it was Louisiana Monroe, and it was coming in, and running specialized packages for Arch that got everybody head over heels. And then, like, it's like everybody forgot Clemson had to, like, sneak into the college football playoff a year ago, sneak into the ACC, like winning the ACC, and hasn't won a big game in a long time. The offense is going to be just fine. And they're not going to run into LSU a bunch. But, like, you can't just dude, every year, these mock drafts, that you can look at all of them from June and then compare them to the ones in April, and you're going to find 6 names in the first round that are still on the board.
Well, if you kind of heard Tyson kind of coloring between the lines there, yes, he is calling me out, folks, and that's because I got to admit where I was wrong.
I've made a huge mistake. Hand up.
And mine's Cade Klubnik, because what did I say? Again, on our early season coming in, we're talking about the Heisman Trophy. I'm saying if I'm betting one of the favorites, it's Klubnik, because I think he's going to tear up the ACC. I think finally in his senior year, he's rising to the occasion. He's going to prove that he's, I don't think number 1 pick in the NFL draft, but first-round talent, former 5-star kid, best. And once again, in a big game, all eyes on him against a legit defense. It did not look good for Cade Klubnik. And it looked like he was lost, and he had the deer in the headlights look. It's like, oh, God, we're doing this again with this kid. It's going to be pretty in the ACC play, Tyson, because it always is. But if they are lucky enough to make it to the college football playoff, and he has to face an Ohio State defense, he has to face a Penn State defense, he has to face an LSU again, he has to face Georgia. Does anybody have confidence and him being able to rise to the occasion, I don't anymore.
No, but I do have confidence he's still going to throw for like 4,000 yards and 40 touchdowns in that conference, and he still might go to New York. So you're not dead. My hand up, easy one. All the offseason, it was like Florida State's getting smoked. You can't talk like this and then go play Alabama. And they did everything they said they were going to do. Castellanos just made like $400 billion in merchandise sales after this weekend because he's like selling T-shirts with his quotes on it and everything. And I thought this guy was going to get smoked, dude. And he was like the best player on the field. It was awesome. Like we didn't talk about this, but Florida State, you're Florida State. Stay in this, like, it's fun. And yes, you can storm the field. You went 2-10 a year ago, but like the level of program that you're supposed to win these. Stay in the stands.
Tyson being a grumpy old man, although I'd had the same reaction on Twitter.
I mean, it's one thing if you're Vanderbilt to storm the field, but like you were undefeated a couple years ago.
There you go. Stay in the stands. No celebration. That's what Tyson's saying. All right, let's get the donkey of the day from this past week.
Donkey of the day.
Mine's my bald brother, Dave Aranda. And it hurts me to say that, folks. You're supposed to be a defensive mind, and you're letting frickin' Jackson Arnold. I mean, it was elementary. It was like when you're playing backyard football and, the 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi. Oh, I can rush now. I'm going to run. That's what it was. One read taken away. I'm going to run. Can somebody put a spy there, collapse the pocket, do anything besides what you frickin' did? Because Auburn runs wild on Baylor, and there was zero adjustment. I'm thinking maybe in the second half we'll see something different, because if you made Jackson Arnold throw like they did early in the game, he wasn't hitting anything. But no, for whatever reason, it's Dave Rand. We're going to do what we're doing. This is our game plan. It's not a recipe for success at this level. Auburn exposed them because they're stronger in the trenches. And once again, Dave Rand has let me down.
I forgot that doing these means that you get to have a little vent session about whatever one of your bets didn't hit over the weekend. I had forgotten you had Baylor money line, and it dawned on me about halfway through that. My donkey of the day, this is an easy one for me, and yes, I'm going to continue piling on, but it's Dabo, and just like honestly, everybody involved with the throwing things on the field after a clear pass interference, after a touchdown gets taken away. That, like, first of all, don't mark the ball out at the one. Second of all, I thought reviews were to like help get the calls right, not to make them wrong. Just absolutely asinine. They're throwing stuff on the field. Dabo is yelling at the refs. He's got 2 fingers up. He's saying, That's the second one you missed. And it was like, dude, first of all, that was a penalty. And also, you took a touchdown. That was crazy. And then he goes to the press conference and he says, LSU gets a 65, Clemson gets a 58. If you want to say that LSU didn't play their best game, you can say that. But you got smoked in the second half of the football game. You came out of the locker room and got pantsed. You had nothing going. Garrett Riley, again, looks like a guy that can't win these big games. So maybe, just maybe, let's focus on us, little old Clemson, and not talk about everybody else in the country all the time.
There you go. I love it, Tyson. That's good. I'm a Dabo guy. I mean, I like Dabo.
Dude,
I respect what they built
time.
at Clemson, but
all he's got to do is talk about everybody else in the transfer portal and how everybody else in college football is doing this, and we do it our way. That's fine. Focus on you, dude. You haven't won a big game. 2018, like, come on.
Final superlative. We got to hand it out for who had the biggest upset of the weekend.
Upset of the week.
And it has to go to Florida State over Alabama. I mean, game ball to Mike Norvell, game ball to Tommy Castellanos. What else can you say, man? Out physical, out prepared, out executed, and they pulled off the shocker. I think that this is the thing: is Alabama's kingdom, is Alabama's reign over college football. Like, is it finally over? I mean, there's some cracks in the armor. Feels like the shield is broken now. Yeah,
it sure does. And like game ball to that defensive line, dude. The ACC is now wide open, and what we thought was Clemson's probably going to go undefeated. Like, they get by LSU week 1, and they're going to win this conference. And now Florida State looks really good. Miami looks really good. And there's some other impressive performances over the weekend too.
I'll tell you though, this is the time to make some futures bets, folks. Market's overreacting. People are overreacting. I'm probably going to put in some futures here, Tyson. And we do our picks episodes before each weekend. But where can they find any of the extra stuff that we do?
It'll be in the Discord app. Group name, as I said, what I said. Tons of different channels in there if you're not, trying to put down features in college football. But yeah, hey, you have a touchdown score parlay for the NFL, Brad, which starts on Thursday night this week here with Eagles and Cowboys. So now is the perfect time to get in there and just get red hot. You can tail us, you can fade us. Good weekend overall for me on the college football side of things. And we're going to keep that thing rolling.
Absolutely. So like, subscribe, and share the show. You don't miss a single thing we're doing. Tyson alluded to the fact that NFL is kicking off. So we're finally going to be talking like NFL, not preseason stuff, not, this is what could happen. No, what's going to happen on the gridiron. We got you covered here. Don't miss a single thing we do. Smash the subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, smash the like button and share it with a friend, share it with an enemy, whatever. You guys know how to do it. We appreciate all the support you guys give us. We are locked and loaded here as we do our first recap of the college football season. We'll get the NFL rolling too. We can't wait. We'll be with you the entire step of the way. We'll talk to you guys when we talk to you. Till then, peace.